All right, what's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Armon. We're back with another video. Get in here, get in here. It's getting freaky deaky on the low. Child. First, Kanye West reveals that he's been doing some freaky with his cousin since the age of 14. All right, and Shannon Sharpe reveals some kinky text messages between him and unknown Jane Doe that is suing him for $50 million. All right, so we're going to get into that, and I'll give you guys my thoughts. All right, so let's get into the Shannon Sharpe piece before we get into anything else. All right, so Shannon Sharpe is accused of SA in a $50 million civil suit. Pro Football Hall of Famer and media personality Shannon Sharpe is facing a new lawsuit accused of SA in bantering and engaging in intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit was filed Sunday in Clark County, Nevada, and obtained by USA Today Sports. The plaintiff, listed under the name alias Jane Doe, said she was in a relationship with Sharpe for nearly 2 years, and it began as a rocky consensual relationship. So it was consensual at one point, but it was rocky, okay? The woman who was seeking $50 million in damages says she met Shannon Sharpe at a Los Angeles gym in 2023, okay, when she was 19, and alleges in the lawsuit that Shannon Sharpe, who is currently 56 years old, SA'd her twice, once in October of 2024 and again in January 2025. In a statement released Monday, Sharpe's attorney, Lanny J. Davis, called the lawsuit a blatant, cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misinterpretations, and it will not succeed, okay? The woman says Sharpe became violent over the course of the relationship, threatened to off her during one incident, and recorded their acts without her consent. Okay. Sharpe flew into fits of anger when plaintiff noted his infidelity to their relationship. So apparently he was cheating, and he would get upset when she would go off about it, or called him, or if she would call him out about his extraneous activities. What does that mean? The lawsuit said, that's what the lawsuit said. It also said what had once been manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Jane Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Sharpe made it clear that Jane Doe was no of moment. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October 24, Shannon Sharpe violently SA'd the plaintiff on 2 separate occasions in Las Vegas, ignoring her request to stop. Shout, this the best. Jane Doe is represented by, this is where it gets tricky though, attorney Tony Busby. Now, if we know anything about Tony Busby, remember Tony Busby tried to just shake down Jay-Z, and that didn't go well. So, I don't know. Because when you bring in the Tony Busby of the situation, I'm kind of like, oh, this might not be real. Because Tony Busby, clearly, he can't even practice in the state of New York anymore because he's been caught to be a liar, and he's got a bunch of, stuff on his record on his own. Like, he's been trying to pay people off. Jay-Z countersued him. It was a lot going on with Tony Busby. So, I don't know. Tony Busby, what's the other black guy? Tyrone Black, whatever his name is. Those 2 lawyers are like ambulance chaser lawyers, so you just really don't know what to. Oh, Tyrone Blackburn. You don't know who to really trust in those situations. So I don't know if Tony Busby really has credibility, because he just takes on a bunch of different messy lawsuits for clout, I feel like, and quick money grabs. And sometimes they stick and sometimes they don't. But what's interesting was Shannon Sharpe responded. Well, his legal counsel responded, and they revealed text messages between Shannon Sharpe and the woman showing that it was very consensual. So they did have a relationship. They did have encounters, and they were having sex. And so Shannon Sharpe said, well, let me show you what she's been saying so that you know that it is legit, that everything was consensual, and there was no force to be had. But 56 and 19 is kind of crazy. Well, yeah. Well, I guess he would have been like 54 2 years ago. So she's probably 21 now. Damn, could have been her damn daddy. So this is what she was saying. This is the statement. I can't put it on the screen just because AI, they know how to read this stuff, but I'm going to read it to you here. And because it's kind of crazy. And so I just don't want to put it on here and then AI gets it and then it's just a mess. So this is what she said. This is the statement by Lanny J. Davis's Shannon Sharpe's counsel. These are apparently text messages from the woman to Shannon Sharpe. I want you to put a dog collar around my neck. Okay, these are very kinky messages, okay? Let me put Shannon Sharpe back up here. I don't know why he kind of came down. Look at Shannon Sharpe. Don't he look like a freaky kinky, Look at Shannon Sharpe. Look at this picture. Don't he just look like this? I'm going to pull this picture up while I read the messages, and I just want you to look at Shannon Sharpe and imagine her doing this and what he's saying. And y'all remember that video where he was hopefully I can find that video. Was that her when he was on live and he was y'all remember that? Okay, so imagine that and then this, and I'm gonna read the text messages. I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're fucking me. Gabrielle Zuninga in a text message to Shannon Sharpe on October 7th, 2023. Oh, Gabriela Zuninga. That sounds Latino. Now we have a name. I know you misty speak juicy. 25K for each cheek. So it's given Shannon Sharpe was tricking if he had it. You know what I'm saying? And so she's clearly a paid escort and then a cold-blooded freak. Gabrielle Zuninga in a text to Shannon Sharpe, 1 of 25. That's what she said to him. The lawsuit filed by Gabrielle Zuninga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is blatant and cynical in an attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misinterpretations. I read that in an effort to, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here, hold on. In an effort to extract a large financial settlement, Ms. Zuninga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual encounter. Okay, so she was trying to get a large lump sum of money, so she presented him with this video. We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. So she basically said, okay, you need to give me my money. If you don't give me this money, I have this video of you raping me, forcefully essaying me, and fucking me. That's what she's saying, okay? Ms. Zuninga has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version, so the video was edited, of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we're releasing several of Ms. Zuninga's own explicit text messages to Shannon Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of their relationship was consensual and asexual in nature. And sexual in nature, and in many cases initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to allegations she made in her lawsuit, consensual continued until January 2nd of this year, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek, as quoted above in her text messages to Mr. Sharpe. There are other examples of text messages from Zuninga, for example. So when she asked for the $25K a cheek, he gave her, what this is saying to me, because that was on 1/1 of 2025. They had continuously until 1/2 2025. So the $25K per cheek, $50K, I don't know if it's double for the BBL or whatever have you, but I'm about to say something. If it was a square back, you know what I mean? It's just a 25. You know, some of them Latinas be built like a box of cereal. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, not all, because y'all gonna be, you know. But let me not. Okay. Anyway, only if you. Oh, now this is where we're getting back to the text messages. You ready? Only if you put that baby gravy in me. What is a baby gravy? Then I can do whatever you want. Oh, girl, she was trying to get pregnant. This is clearly a shakedown. That was a text from Zuninga to Shannon, November 23rd, 2023. I want to put my tongue in your asshole and marry you. Whew. Put your tongue in Shannon Sharpe's ass is crazy. Wow. Then she said, that was on January 2024. Then she said, that's my daddy. F that. I want you to put that big black baby in me. What is a big black baby? That sounded like some kinky race bait nigga style. Are you letting her call you a dirty mayate? Shannon Sharpe. You's a freaky, kinky mother. Shannon Sharpe done got all that money from that Cat Williams interview and everything he been doing, and he over here putting big black babies in Latinas and letting them lick his ass, and they all 19 years old. You Shannon Sharpe, you freaky, kinky motherfucker, you. You's a freaky, nasty motherfucker, Shannon. You's a cold-blooded, freaky motherfucker. You. Child. She also said, you better crave it because you're going to be stuck with me for life after you put that big black baby in me. Wow. So those were just some of the text messages. But my question is, what were the replies? You know what I mean? What were the replies? What did he say? What did he respond? Because here's the thing. You know, when you put that stuff out, they're coming back with your responses. So I can't wait to see what kind of freaky Shannon Sharpe responded with. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be a lot. So Shannon Sharpe, get your drawers ready because it's time to unpack. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. Everybody gets into a little bit of whatever you into. And like, I'm not really, it's not really no tea. It's just funny when you look, you know what I mean? Because you don't know really what a person's into until you know. And so then when you see it, you're just like, oh, I could see that for you. I didn't know you was that nasty like that. You got this suit buttoned up like this, all these muscle tight ass pants, and you over here in some kinky, wild, weirdo. But you know that usually how it goes. But I guess everybody has their kinks, I get. You just never know until you know. But speaking of freaky, Kanye West has revealed his own truth. Now, as much as I want to, kind of laugh and joke about this, I'll honestly say this situation with Kanye West is far more, it happens far more often than we just like to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and a lot of times, and I don't know about, all families, but I know in Black families, like things like this happen a lot. And I don't really know, like, I don't really know how to, like, you got to just really tread lightly with this because it could trigger a lot of people. But I just, like, it always was kind of weird to me, like, or you just never know, like, is this abuse? Is it not abuse? Like, what is, you know what I mean? Like, or are people just acting out what they see? Are they, like, I just think it comes because, well, let me get into the article and then we'll talk about it. So, again, I'm not going to post, but I'm going to read what Kanye said. This song is called Cousins, just randomly in a tweet. About my cousins that's locked in jail for Xing off a pregnant lady for a few years. After I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. Perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt, well, how long was y'all looking at the dirty magazines for him to off somebody? Because perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6. And then we acted out what we saw. My dad had a Playboy magazine, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I sucked my cousins till I was 14. So this is probably one of those things where, that's why I've always got nervous about like having like kids or whatever, because it's just like you see the dirty magazines, you find the books, you find the videos. Maybe it's different now because you have your phone and, you have your computers and stuff, and you can have the child locks on it. But I feel like the first encounter of, and stuff like that usually comes from your parents. At least, that's how I found my shit. You know what I mean? I've seen the dirty magazine, the dirty DVDs. That's how it was locked. It was up on the drawer. You just stumbled upon it. You was looking for them, and he was like, what is Butt Bandits? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? Ebony Booty, what is that? And you pop it in the DVD, you're like, oh, this is something interesting. So then as a kid, you just start acting out on things that you see. Perhaps that's what happened. And I think that Kanye West just wanted to reveal it. And he's also taking accountability because he was saying, well, hey, I took some thought into it because I introduced him. I don't think that he was saying that he was assaulted or he assaulted his cousin. I think that what he was saying is like, basically, this happened in my household. I wanted to free myself from this and just tell my story because, it's something that I wanted to be interested in. And furthermore, it makes me feel like, is this why everything with him as of lately has been like this weird sexual innuendo, from the way that Bianca Sensori, the way that she dresses, mentioning, gay people, and, mentioning does Beyonce give Jay-Z pussy? Like, everything that he talks about always has like this, sexual innuendo to it. And I'm just like, well, what is the thing? And then, he's also talked about him, being addicted to being a sex addict and addicted to porn. And so I think a lot of people go through that, and a lot of people can relate to that. And a lot of people go through things like this in their family, and they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to express it. So while we could laugh and say ill and say, oh my God, we all know someone probably in our family that has been in a similar situation, or some of us ourselves have been in a situation like that where it's like, this has happened. What does this mean? And I think maybe I just really it only makes me nervous with conversations like this, because it's like, well, what does this mean? Because we're always taught to think that when men feel this way, it's like, well, does that mean he's fighting being gay? Is he gay? Is he not gay? And, when you have these encounters, does it make you gay? Like, I just don't know. You know what I mean? And I try not to attach gay to this, because I know that it can happen in this situation, but it also happens with boy and girl cousins, and you play that game of house is dangerous. You know what I mean? People playing house and doing that, it happens. And I think that while it was a crash out, I think that, I can respect him for speaking about it, because I think so many people have gone through something similar in their family, or they at least know someone who has, So I hope in hindsight, Kanye West is freeing himself and getting the clarity that he needs, and perhaps he's getting the therapy that he needs to kind of move on and release that. And I just don't know what kind of trauma, because everybody handles things differently. So I don't know what kind of trauma this added to him. Is he fighting spirits of feeling like he's gay? Is he fighting like sexual urges all the time? Like, I don't know. Like, I would like to know, like, what does this mean? Is it just something that you wanted to just get off your chest, or is it something that you've been kind of dealing with for a long time? I'm not a therapist, so I really don't know how to, really gauge or understand that. But it's a really interesting conversation. And I think that maybe more of these conversations need to be had, and not just to exploit it, but what is the solution behind it? Because a lot of times you hear, this ex person in this family took advantage of me, or blah, 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 blah. But this seems like they found the magazines and they were reenacting what they saw. And it was like something that they continue to do. It didn't seem like it was forceful. It was almost something that they enjoyed doing together. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? So yeah, it's a really interesting conversation, and I really don't have all the answers on that, but I'm curious to know, like, well, what does that mean? So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and yeah. Have anybody ever been in a similar situation? I mean, if you want to share, you can. And how does that? How did you handle that? And what does that mean? And what do you think about this whole thing with Shannon Sharpe, Kanye West? How do you handle that? Do you think that Kanye West can get help for this, or do you think that this was a way for him to, open up about some of his traumas? Like, what does this mean? All right, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, keep that same energy, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.